Hello John, these are your carburetors. We've got a cold engine and we're going to start them up, and while they warm up I'm going to go over some specifics with you, and let's see if we can't show you how wonderful these carburetors are. And first thing we're going to do is do a little choke, and notice the choke works. It's operating the throttle at the same time. That's what your choke does. In addition to choking the engine for a fuel-rich and incoming airflow, it also physically opens up the throttle to give you higher idling speed. Now then, while we got a cold engine, so until we get some operating temperature here, we're just going to let these things idle. I'm going to go over some fine points with you. We've got new throttle shafts, we've got new throttle plates. Let's see, you may be able to see this, my gesturing. Alright, we've got new throttle plates, new butterflies, new throttle plate shafts. Shafts are in new bushings. All the surfaces have been machined. Factory needle and seat, factory gaskets which are red. And the idle mixture screws have been machined. This is important. The second barrel, see if you can see one here. The second barrel idle mixture screw hole has been blocked off. It's a dummy, so don't mess with it. Don't need to adjust or anything like that, or touch it. And some of the images are going to be in focus and some are going to be out of focus because that's the type of camera I've got. Let's see, helicoils have been installed at all points as necessary. Anodized aluminum plates have been attached to the carburetors here to help reinforce the bases so they don't crack. All steel parts have been cadmium plated for original. Now then, once you begin to start to mount your carburetors, get the carburetors installed on the intake manifold, loosen up where they'll stay in position, but you can still move them around. And then take your air log and put it in place, and then do the final tightening on the carburetors so that the air log can come off and on easily. Nothing worse than installing the carburetors and then you'll be finding out that the air log won't fit because these are these are not where they're supposed to be relative to the air log. So always do that. Another important point, use 2 wrenches when loosening and tightening this fitting. You have 1 wrench here to secure this fitting so it doesn't move, so you don't potentially rip it out of the float bolt cover, and then you do all your turning on this fitting up here. When mounting the carburetors, I'll give you the mounting instructions, but use a crossways pattern on the mounting bolts and snug them up a little bit at a time so you have uniform pressure at all points. And don't forget to install the carburetor support rod underneath the air log. Let's see what else. Also, fuel is very important. I suggest you install an aftermarket fuel filter in line. That would be after the fuel filter, the original fuel filter in the car, and before the fuel pump, and just get some extra fuel line and splice a steel encased fuel filter that you can pick up at your local auto parts store. Make sure you got clean gas and clean gas tank and clean fuel lines. And if you see any red sediment, it looks like it looks like sand, like fine sand that's actually rust. Now then, we have got water temperature, and we can now tune us some carburetors. As you can tell, they idle very nicely. Now you will not have to do any of this, but I'm just showing you how nicely these things operate. The important thing is our second barrels are blanked off, or not blanked off. Our second barrels are not drawing any air while at idle, which is what gives you your high and funky idle. So you can see right here, the needle barely moved. That's great sealing. And over here, needle barely moved. That's great. And now we're going to go over to our first barrel of each carburetor, and what we're going to do is check for uniform airflow. And right here we're at 7, and right here we're at 7. What I usually like to do is pop the linkage off so that we are running independently of each other. We want to make sure we don't bump that so it accelerates when it's not supposed to. So here's a smidge over 7, and right at smidge over 7. Now for fun, we're going to idle this thing down, just for fun to see what it'll do. And I'm going to screw each of these screws out the appropriate amount. I'm doing that because I don't have them hooked up so that this return spring's not acting on it. Let's screw this one out one more turn. Another half a turn rather. Same with this one, another half turn. So right now we're idling down probably around 500 RPM. Let's see if we can go any lower. That's it. That's as low as it's going to go. I'll give you an idea how nicely the machine work turned out to be able to idle that low. And now we're going to screw these back in. So we get our idle back up. Now we're going to check with our flow meter. They happen to be, let's see, okay, what we'll do, we'll get this up to 8. Get the idle up. There's 8. Now we go over here. That's a little low, so let's get you up to 8. Yeah, that gives us an indicated 1,000 RPM idle. Tell you what we'll do, we'll knock it down just to show people how cool we are. Bring that down to 7. On this one, down to 7. A little bit more. All right. 7. A little bit more to get down to 7. Alright, now we've got these synchronized. What you want to do is adjust. This is what you have to do. You have to put these on, and all of your linkage up to this point is specified in the shop manual. This very last one right here is the one that you have to dial in so that when you, that's why it's on a turnbuckle here, right here, so you can dial, screw it in and out. And what you want to be able to do is at the very last is you take this and you'll be able to snap that in place, and your idle doesn't change. And I think it changed a little bit, so now I'm going to double check my measurements. Let's try that again. There we go. Snapped on, idle didn't change. And back down to idle. Now let's see, also I forgot to mention the idle mixture screws. You don't need to mess with these. These are, I've adjusted these, but what you want to do is screw these in and out until you get the best possible running of the engine. So you can hear it start to drop off in idle. We screw it back in. Start to drop off. We get that adjusted where it's just about right. And start to drop off on idle. We screw it back in. There you go. And you won't have to screw with those at all. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. Let's see what else we got. Oh yes, if for some reason you don't like the idle I have it set at, what you want to do, and you don't have the air collector installed where you can put your synchrometer up there, well, what you do is you just come along and you screw your idle adjustment screw in the same amount on each carburetor, obviously, because it's on the threaded it's an inclined plane. It's threaded, and so if you screw them both the same amount, then the adjustment is the same on each carburetor. And I think, let's see here, I think you'll be ready to go. There we go. Nice start up when hot. Another important thing that we're noticing is we don't have any fuel dripping, and very important is no fuel dripping underneath here or moistiness, which is a real major pain in the ass to take care of. Plus it's all dry right here. Those are also, excuse me, those are also a major pain to take care of in terms of fuel dripping. Seepage. I mean, you're going to have some seepage down there eventually. It's nothing like having the float bulb at the very bottom of the carburetor just sitting there with gaskets ready to leak. So, I think you will be happy with these carburetors. I know I am. I think these are a super pair of carburetors. Thank you for your patience.